Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together and sends it out across the world, because we need much more of it. Bless you.
Around this is so wicked. Now they're going to, they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they gonna investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're gonna investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend, I get calls on my radio show every day. Well, I don't see where voting changed them. All right, let me tell you where, if they lose the Congress this year, where it changes. The Speaker would be Hakeem Jeffries, who grew up right here in Name, as he said on Monday. The Speaker decides then the calendar for the legislative session. The chairs of the committees become Democrats. So the Judiciary Committee, now watch this in the barbershop. The chair of the Judiciary Committee, y'all saw the Judiciary Committee have the hearing and brought in the special counsel yesterday. Well, the chair this time, if the Democrats win, would be a Democrat who could then subpoena the Attorney General Bondi, all of the folks that were involved in January 6th. They can subpoena the vice for all of them because you've got the power of the gavel. Wonder why nobody has asked Pence how he felt running for his life January 6th. Well, if you get the Judiciary Committee, you can subpoena Pence.
This is a defining moment. As our world faces urgent challenges, the movement comes together. National Action Network's 35th anniversary and convention, April 8th through the 11th. Leaders, activists, and community voices united for justice and change. The moment is now.
This is the first Thanksgiving I'm here in New York. Over 20 years. I'm just glad to be here with Rev today and to hand out the food. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
Hey, it's Erica Ford, the Peace Doctor in the building. Here at the National Action Network, it's about thanks. It's about giving. It's about gratitude.
Thursday,
I feel it's important for you to understand.
January 28th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country, and good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. For the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation by calling us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can send a message on the message board, born to nationalactionnetwork.net, nationalactionnetwork.net, and you can post a message, and we will get to as many of you as we can. This is certainly a day with a lot to talk about, and it is the day before our 20th anniversary. 20 years ago tomorrow, I did the first radio show. I started to say telecast. That's TV, radio show. Started 20 years ago. National syndicated radio. Kathy Hughes, the founder and CEO of Radio and TV One, said, Reverend Al, do you want to do a radio show? I want to start a talk station. And I said, yeah, but I just had signed with some progressives in Chicago to do talk radio. She said, it's 2006. And she said, give me their number. I'll buy you out of that contract and bring you on. And she did. And I've been here ever since with the family. And 20 years, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. A lot to talk about today. Holman, the czar, as they try to call him, and I wish they wouldn't, because I think he thinks he is a czar, but he is in Minneapolis now, and he is now taking charge of the what ICE and what the Homeland Security folks can and cannot do, and said he's going to be there to return law and order. And he admitted that operations could be improved. Could be improved. Y'all shot 3 people, killed 2. Somebody need to be held accountable. So we're going to talk about that. He's saying he wants to deal with safety and de-escalation. What about prosecuting and having the officers, 2 officers shot Preddy, didn't know he was even in possession of a licensed gun after they were shooting him. So I wanted to hear somebody say something about justice. I see Christopher Jeremiah is saying on our message page, Holman the crook who stole 50K. No, I think it was, he put, they paid him off in a sack of money that the Fed said they had. It's proven. He never denied it. That's who they send to Minneapolis because Christy Knowles has messed up so bad. But let's talk about that. And the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry, is traveling to D.C. today to meet with lawmakers and advocate for an end to the unlawful ICE operations in his city. So the mayor, Jacob Fry, be in Washington today trying to get lawmakers to back up the Homeland Security and ICE folks from his city. Then Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar announced she's going to run for governor of Minnesota amid all the turmoil. She enters the race. The present Governor Walz, has said he's not running for re-election. A couple of weeks ago, many of you know him. He was Kamala Harris's running mate. He's not running. She's running for Governor Klobuchar. And then we see that lawmakers in Texas are demanding the release of the 5-year-old that Congressman Castro, Jasmine Crockett, and others visited the detention center and demanded they let the 5-year-old go. And lastly, we're told that the Senate Democrats and the White House are making progress toward avoiding a partial government shutdown. The Democrats are pushing to strip the DHS funding unless there are real reforms. The Schumer and them going heads up this year on this one and won't back up. We'll see. We'll see. Akeem Smith is saying on our message board, Reverend Sharpton, what happened at the ICE detention center in Texas? Well, they came out and said it was awful and that people are being held under all kinds of circumstances. And they've blocked people from it, members of Congress, from going in federal detention centers. And it is against everything we're supposed to have. But we must keep our feet on the pedal and push the pedal to the metal on the Democrats and the Republicans. Bruce Turner saying any word from the Dems about what they're asking in the budget hearing. I've not heard any words. I do know they said they wanted to see ICE defunded and they wanted to see the restoration, at least in some form, of the Affordable Care Act. And they've said that to me publicly and privately. What they're doing, I don't know, but we will know shortly because they're going to have to come out with something because the deadline is here. Billy Wilson saying, afternoon, Reverend Sharpton, no justice, no peace. Well, I've been saying that many years, Billy, and thank you for keep on saying it. And Darrell Prunty says, praise the Lord, Reverend Al Sharpton. We must now demand that Congress begin impeachment and 25th Amendment proceedings against Trump and his whole administration. And James Thomas is saying, I hope that Nicki Minaj grift was worth it for the gold card because if Dems take over the House and Senate, that gold card for citizenship would be null and void. A lot of people mad with Nicki Minaj. Said that she held Trump's hand yesterday. Said she's his #1 fan. But what about her fans? A lot of her fans very outraged by it. So We can talk about all of this and the policy behind it. Let's remember, don't just discuss the events. Discuss the policy. When we talk about Minneapolis, and you can shoot an unarmed woman and kill her on the suspicion that she may be doing something wrong, and to lie about what happened, and then the videotape comes out and finds she was not turning into you. She had no arms, so she was no threat to you. And then a couple weeks later, you're going to shoot a man, a government worker, because this man was a nurse in the Veterans Hospital for the government, had a registered gun, and he helped a woman that had been pushed down. You grab him, throw him to the ground, and shoot him. Somebody said, well, he had a gun. Well, they didn't know that when they shot him. And even if he did, let's say they did know he had a gun. The videotapes, 4 different tapes show he never pulled the gun. He had no gun out. So if they saw a gun, you don't shoot him 9 times. You take the gun. You got all of y'all surrounding him. And I'm giving you the best case scenario because there's no evidence at all they knew the gun was there. But the best case is when it came over when he was helping this lady and they saw the gun. You don't execute him, particularly because he had a legal license to carry the gun. I thought that's what y'all wanted. I thought y'all was with the NRA. Oh, that don't apply if you're against our policies. So now we want every American with the NRA to have the right to bear arms, but if you oppose to us, we have the right to take you out of here. That's what this case is about with this young man. So all excuses you want, a lot of people are arguing about when they saw the gun. I'm saying give them all of that. It ain't true, but give them all of that. They saw the gun. They give you the right to shoot him 9 times, or you take the gun. Oh, let me make it plain to you. Did you do that January 6th when all them people were brutalizing people? Did you do that with Kyle Rittenhouse, who shot and killed during a demonstration in Kenosha, Wisconsin, around the police shooting? So when did y'all change the law? I missed that. I didn't think so. Keeping it real. Sharpton, 20 years. I ain't got tired yet. Let me open up the phones. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. Keeping it real. Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just break. I believe that. Good
morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor, and more importantly, this is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day, celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting, because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
Good morning, everybody. Governor Westmore. And as a former honoree of the National Action Network's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast, I want to begin by recognizing the leadership of this great organization. My guy, Reverend Sharpton, you're one of a kind. You've dedicated your life to safeguarding and advancing Dr. King's legacy, and I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine. I also want to thank Ebony Riley and her team, and Andrea Waters King and the entire King family. Your work continues to shape national conversations about equity and justice, and you inspire so many to pursue their own path in public service. And finally, I am thrilled to congratulate today's Visionary Award recipient, my guy, Mayor Brandon Scott. Mr. Mayor, you deserve this honor. Your leadership is turning your vision for Baltimore into a Baltimore where we can all thrive, helping to drive down historic lows in crime. A Baltimore that has one of the fastest growing economies in the country. You've been an incredible partner in this work, my man. A strong leader for the city, and most importantly, a devoted friend and father. So congratulations, Brandon. And thank you to everyone here who is working to strengthen our communities, to broaden opportunities, and most importantly, to serve the people.
This is the first Thanksgiving I'm here in New York. Over 20 years. I'm just glad to be here with Rev today and to hand out the food. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's Erica Ford, the Peace Doctor in the building. Here at the National Action Network, it's about thanks, it's about giving, it's about gratitude, it's about love. I feel it is important for you to understand that there's work out here to be done, but it starts with gratitude, it starts with giving, it starts with peace, it starts with love. Let's go.
Before we feed our family, we got to make sure that we feed the community. That's right. That's what it's all about. We got to come with Sharpton phones. You come and you make sure you show up, serve the community. That's what it's all about.
Make peace with our past.
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people, and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. Don't forget, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. I'll be live Saturday and Sunday. You don't want to miss with all this going on. They'll be negotiating the possible partial government shutdown. And I'm going to have the top negotiators, the senior members of Congress and Senate on. We be dealing with what's going on in Minneapolis and in Maine. They have intensified the ICE presence in Maine and in other parts of the country. I'll be dealing with that. I'll be dealing with, of course, not only did they deal with if they do a partial shutdown or not, the issues not only whether they're going to take ICE out, but whether they come back with a health plan that gives us the services the Affordable Care Act gave us. So a lot to talk about. And again, I've already booked some of our leading members of the House and the Senate because I want to straight from the top and question them with no equivocation about what all of this means, whatever transpires between now and then. So watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. both Saturday and Sunday. Then for you in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me at the Saturday Action Rally. This is the last Saturday we will be at the House of Justice on 145th and Lenox. We are in the process of establishing our new headquarters, which will be a lot larger and multi-purpose, by the way. We're going to be able in that building do a lot of stuff, but I'll get there when we get there in a matter of weeks. But anyway, we will have the last Saturday rally at the House of Justice on 145th and Lenox, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You that are not in New York or the vicinity can watch it live on Impact Television or on YouTube/NAN or at nationalactionnetwork.net. Go to live stream. And then starting next Saturday, Black History Month, we will start having all the Saturday rallies every Saturday at the historic Mother AME Zion Church, Mother AME Zion Church, and that's on 136th Street between 7th and Lenox in Harlem. Church of Frederick Douglass. Paul Robeson went to that church. In fact, Paul Robeson's brother pastored that church. And so much history that's appropriate that while we're in our transition, we go Black History Month to a historic church and operate from there for a couple of weeks. All right, and don't forget National Action Network Convention. I can tell you now that we're going to have some heavyweights, including some of the potential presidential candidates there, and leaders of workshops that you will definitely want to be in the room to hear what they've got to say and to address it from the audience. So go right now and register. I'm telling you, the numbers are higher than usual this far out, and I'm going to have to close it at a certain point. But go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or call the toll-free number 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, and register. It's all free. All you got to do is get there. But you need to register to protect your seat. And I think that, I thought last year was great. I love that. Mayor Rodney Jones, the mayor of Queensbridge Houses, said, I just took flyers for the convention to Bishop Taylor's credit union. Bishop Taylor's out there in Long Island City, New York. So the mayor's out there promoting the convention already, and it's not even February yet. Love it. And Democracy.Fund says, God is good, National Action Network is good trouble. Together they make holy magic. Donate to NAN when, if you can. Becoming a member is a gift which keeps on giving, keeping it real. Brian is my man. I like Brian's always beating the drums, doesn't get tired. You know, Brian, I like folk like me, got a lot of energy. We can stick our finger in the socket and help the electric company out. That's how much energy we got. I don't try it, but I figure I'd say that. Let's go to the phones. 1-877-532-5797. Maybe we ought to take the break first because we right up on a break and then come back and take the calls. This obviously is an important day. Let's take the break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI. We supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're gonna go buy from those that have committed to keep the and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the black church, how we deal with black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass black march, black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all no King's marches and all. But the black organization march, it welcomed everybody. We had white, black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning, because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this agreement. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C., two cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York to paper for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attended convention last year in 2025. It needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it, but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked into silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks in 26. I need you, we need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year, and be focused.
King, Dr. Richardson, most of all, let me thank Reverend Al Sharpton for bringing us all here together today. The Urban Action Network. I am proud to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. But I am mindful that I wouldn't be here if it had not been for Reverend Al Sharpton running for president, and Carol Moseley Brown running for president, and Jesse Jackson running for president, and Shirley Chisholm running for president. They paved the way, and I stand on their shoulders.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I celebrate the day you were born. You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. And we're back, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Evangelist Ramsey, activist extraordinaire in New York, writes, no more tricks in 26 for me too, Rev. That's the theme of our national convention this year. End all tricks in 96. And they got a lot of tricks we're going to have to deal with. That's why you ought to be here with us. Akeem Smith, and I'm looking at it too, that it says that breaking news, Democrats demand a 5-year-old release from the Texas ICE facility. And it says, breaking news, Senate Democrats block DHS funding. Both I'm with. If the DHS, which is Department of Homeland Security, will not be part of the funding bill, if all the Democrats hold that, that's a good thing. I want to hear from some of y'all that always talk about what the Democrats don't do. If they did this, give them credit. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Metroverse to Mr. Wells. Mr. Wells, we're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Allow me to use your platform. We don't agree, but what I have to say, there is some civility in the conversation, and that is not happening with individuals who I remember when you came to Cincinnati, and I talk about that when you wanted to run for president. It was a cold night back in 2003, and I was there in the room, and I'm doing that for credibility about us having some relationship when we have a conversation from that time until now. And what's happened with your career, what I've done in the last 23 years, and then the individuals in the spectrum, so to speak. Are you aware of what's going on in Cincinnati, Ohio, Reverend Sharpton?
In terms of what?
Ohio?
In terms of what?
Well, and for the audience out there, several years ago, back in 2021, when that bipartisan infrastructure bill was coming down, I think I'm the only I'm saying this analyst that put the numbers on the table, because I had to go back to my Facebook account, and I put a lock on a lot of my documents as an advocate because it's too valuable, and people tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. When I do the analysis, I get on a platform, if it's out of D.C., WOL, or VON out of Chicago, or somewhere else in this country, or your platform out of New York, it's too valuable as a researcher and a commentator than people who should be doing the work on the inside go like, well, I wasn't watching, but Wells is always watching. Give you a good example. You know Cecil Thomas, don't you? He's the president of that NAN board, Greater Cincinnati NAN. You know Cecil Thomas, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you know Bobby Hilton, right? Bobby, you know, because he can sing in the church, but he is the chief of staff for County Commissioner Stephanie Dumas Summerall. And look, these people are elected, so folks don't get down and shake. They're on your side of the aisle, Reverend Sharp. These are Democrats. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I called is that let's have some balance in the conversation. Recently, it was released that this whole thing about the Bengals and the stadium deal, it came out the 27th, just 2 days ago. The county commissioners had agreed to do one thing through the lease of 2036. The news is reporting now things they wanted, they slid in a different agreement, and they signed off on something. They said, well, I didn't know it was in there.
Wait a minute, they're saying, let me understand, that you're saying there was an agreement And,
Yes, sir.
And
Extension.
then they slid in some things that they were not aware of when they agreed to or made the agreement.
When they did the extension, I was saying this. Minister Hilton, Bobby Hilton, is the chief of staff of Summerall Dumas. If she didn't see it, he should have read it. She still signed off on it, and people are not happy.
So
this is the
wait a minute. What was the agreement, and then what was slid in?
Oh, the extension. People go online and look it up.
No, I'm talking to you. You got the information. What was the agreement, and what was slid in?
Documents reveal secret history of Bengals and County Stadium deal. Choosing stadium concession vendors, receiving a detailed report of revenue from the stadium events, approving any transfer of the lease to a new team owner. It shows that changed. They said it was last minute, and Dumas, Stephanie Dumas, Summerall still signed it. Now Hilton's her chief of staff.
What was changed? I understand you don't get along with Hilton. I understand you don't get along with Joe Blow. I'm trying to understand why you don't get along. So keep going back to Bob Hilton is wasting your time and mine. What did they change it to? If you're saying they said that they couldn't do certain things with the vendors, they changed it to do what with that?
I just listed it. They said that as far as concessions,
right?
Detailed reports on revenue, and approving any transfer of a lease to a new team owner if the Bengals should sell. Newly released records show that the county commissioners wanted but didn't get. Just before the lease agreement with the Bengals was signed.
So the county commissioners wanted the things you outlined, but they didn't get it, is what you're saying.
They didn't hold pat to hold the Bengals on pat. Mm-hmm. They told the public, we're going to because now we got an election, and Miss Stephanie Summerall Dumas is being, let me hear you, she's being primaried now. She got to, just like Jerry Nadler got to run against Kennedy's grandson, Schlossberg. Jerry Nadler's being primary.
Jerry Nadler's not running, but go ahead.
Okay, but he was getting primary though, wasn't he?
No.
This is going to happen.
No, Kennedy's grandson didn't announce till Jerry announced 3 months ago he wasn't running again. So he was not getting primary, no.
Okay, well, that's going to be, because AOC said this is going to go on. There's going to be some primary candidates. And I'm saying
there's going to be primary candidates, but Jerry wasn't one of them. But go ahead. She's being primary. Then go ahead. What now? Now what?
So I'm saying that there's other issues. Remember that infrastructure money that's on the table we talked about when I broke it down back in 2021 about that $600 billion out of the 435 congressional districts?
I hate to shock you, but I really don't remember what you and I talked about 5 years ago. This is 2026.
Okay. I
know you were very impressive, but I really don't remember.
Okay, I'm saying that we got a Brent Spence building project for $3.6 billion on the table. $1.6 billion comes out of that infrastructure deal, and it lagged for 3 years. We got $1 billion from Ohio. We have $1 billion from Kentucky, $3.6 billion. From what I'm hearing, and I listen to Cecil and the other ones, I'm not hearing parity protection for African Americans. The gentleman that's over the deal for the construction company out of Chicago has a DEI background. His name is Marvin Jackson Walsh Group. I've listened to him. I sent him an email to have a conference. He don't want to talk to me. I have to do this to get balance and parity. I don't.
All right.
No DEI
so what is it that you would think would bring? What do you want to see in terms of the contract, and what do you want to see done about the Bengals stadium that you think would bring balance and support the community?
That's over and done with. My eye now is the $3.6 billion on that Brent Spence building project. They ain't broke ground yet. And
wait a minute. You called me and brought up the Bengals. Then you brought up a conversation. Then you brought up a conversation that we had 5 years ago. And when I asked you for the solution, you say that ain't why you called. After you talked to me for 5 minutes. Let's take the next call. Next time you call, what you call about, let's talk about that. You didn't call. You said let's have balance and start outlining all these things. I thought you wanted to address that. You said, no, that's not what I call you. Let me go to Rick in Germany. Rick, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good day, Brother Sharpton.
Good day.
I had three things I wanted to talk about, but I'll drop it down to one. Iran. what is going on in Iran and what is Donald Trump gearing up to do in response?
What is going on with Iran? He claims, he being Trump, that they put the carrier out there to make it clear that they were going to protect the Iranian protesters and that they were not going to have the regime do anything. And then he said, but they're not going to war. So I don't know why you send a vessel out there or why you threaten somebody. It's like me saying, I'm going to fight you, I'm going to put up my dukes, but we're not going to fight. Then why did you put up your dukes? It's a contradictory statement.
Is Iran embroiled in the beginning of a civil war?
It appears that there's some dissatisfaction, mass dissatisfaction in Iran. I don't think I'm qualified enough to say if it reaches the level of a civil war, but it certainly has reached high levels of civil discontent.
Well, let me say in closing that I know that the ICE situation in America is getting lots of media attention, and you have to follow up with what's going on because it relates to law and black people there in America. But what's going on internationally, we had better pay attention because the wealthy pay attention to what's going on internationally. Congo and Sudan, we had better pay attention to. Thank you for the time,
All
Brother
right, thank
Sharpton.
you for your call, as always. Let me go to the message board. Demetrius Jones says, good day, Reverend Al. On yesterday, the FBI issued a warrant to confiscate the 2020 election data. This is very alarming. I feel they're going to interrupt the midterm elections. Now, this is critical. Out of nowhere, FBI went and to Fulton County, confiscated the ballots about the 2020 election. It's 2026 if somebody just woke up. This clearly is trying to undermine or put a cause for pause or suspicion on what is going on in terms of the Democratic Party, because that's what they're trying to imply, and the elections. I would not be surprised if they don't use that to interrupt the elections. And don't forget, you have a major Senate race in that state this year with Senator Alford. So I agree with you. Then what is this? Forensic account says 20 years in the death of Sonia Massey may not be enough for some, but it was a maximum allowable. Want more, want laws change, and get off the couch. I love that. Yeah, we fought on that one. I went to Chicago. I helped the family, stood with Ben Crump. When we went there, we was fighting to get a policeman prosecuted. Now they have sentenced him to 20 years in jail, a multi-million-dollar settlement with the family. I think that he should have got life because he took a life, but he got much more than we've seen others get. And I agree with her. Get off the couch so we can get full justice. But at least this family got some accountability. And I'm glad I got involved. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length and and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not going to throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together and sends it out across the world, because we need much more of it. Bless you.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder, and others. And Ronald Reagan, who had called Martin Luther King a communist, ended up being the president that had to sign the bill for Martin Luther King's federal holiday. The reason why we know struggle works is this holiday is a result of struggle, signed by a president that never thought it would be. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up to Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But we gather this morning because everything Dr. King stood for is at risk. As we speak, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court will do with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the major achievements of the King movement. As we speak this morning, this sitting president has declared war on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the core of the Civil Rights Act of '64. We are under attack, and we should not be taking this as a day off. This is a day on to fight to keep what was maintained. To see, I remember 6 years ago, Martin III and I were in Minneapolis leading the marches around George Floyd. I did the eulogy at his funeral. 6 years later, we see a white female, unarmed, killed in Minneapolis. We see people being racially profiled. We see that there are those that would want this to be the last federal holiday named after King. Don't you be deceived. This sitting president and his cohorts would want to end Martin Luther King Day. But just like we will not let them end this day, we will not let them end voting rights and Civil Rights Act and DEI. It's not enough to remember and honor the dreamer and let them kill the dream. And that's why National Action Network has every year started in Washington, D.C. with this breakfast, and then we go to New York with our public policy forum. And every year we try to set an agenda and go into April. We always have our national convention in April, which is the month Dr. King was killed, to say that they killed the dreamer, not the dream. And those of us that come out of that movement is going to continue to fight. This April will be our National Action Network is 35 years old in this April at our convention. One of the things, though, we've been most proud of is to try to keep the assignment that we were given. As I said, Mrs. Coretta Scott King never got the credit she was due. She's the matriarch of this movement. You must know that Dr. King was in Boston, had graduated Morehouse College, 19 years old. Went to Boston University, an Ivy League school at a time many blacks couldn't get in them. Met a young lady who was in conservatory, was going to be an opera singer from Marion, Alabama, Coretta Scott King. They decided to go back south. A lot of blacks that went north and had their upper movement never wanted to go back south. But for whatever reason, Dr. King wanted to go back south, and Mrs. King stood right with him and went to Alabama and ran into history. It is always those that accept the calling that change history, and we should never forget the sacrifice made of Dr. Martin and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, because they did not have to go and lead a boycott. They were Boston University Conservatory graduates. They chose to fight. And when it fell their lot, they kept fighting. And even after Dr. King was assassinated, she kept the movement going. Martin III bonded me and his mother, and she used to reprimand me. Al, you got to be careful with your language. Al, I know you up north, but do this, that, and other. She got on me about being not only in the tradition in your actions, because we always was there, but even in your rhetoric. And it was because of that that it meant so much. For the last 30 years, Martin and I have walked step by step together because we had that bond, and I felt that Mrs. King gave us that. He has kept this dream alive all over the world. He has worked with the offsprings of Mahatma Gandhi to keep this tradition going. But I thought I knew a lot about how God operates because I've been preaching since I was a little boy. So I thought I'd never see another person in the spirit of Coretta Scott King. But Andrea Waters King walks and talks and operates in the spirit of Mrs. Because sometimes I turn around and think Mrs. King is back. She is more adamant. When Martin and I are saying, well, I don't know about this, she gets us on the Zoom and zooms us up. Say, no, y'all got to do this and this way. So I want to bring, before we start the awards, to the stage the heirs of Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, Andrea Waters King and Martin Luther King III.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
Go take it back.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of
I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. I see the mayor, Rodney Jones, mayor of Queensbridge Houses. Now, I want y'all to get this, very important. He's writing about the Rooney Rule is not working as constituted. And I think that it's extremely important. The Rooney Rule was set up that they would have for every appointment in NFL, there would have to be a black that would be part of the cycle. He says the Rooney Rule is not working as constituted. There was 10 head coaching vacancies, and all 10 were filled by Caucasian men. I want y'all to hear that now. All 10 were filled by Caucasian men. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is that the Super Bowl is next week, and everybody's talking about which team they're rooting for and not talking about whether the NFL is being fair with us. Because the Rooney Rule was a NFL, I keep hearing music underpinning, I can't even think. The Rooney Rule was set up, adopted in 2003, and named for Pittsburgh Steelers owner Dan Rooney, that requires teams to interview minority candidates for key football leadership jobs. You know, and the rule was created to address the historical low number of minority head coaches and executives. It originally required any team with a head coach vacancy to interview at least one minority candidate before making a hire. The scope has since expanded to cover senior football operations and others. So this is 2023. It started in 2003. We're in 2026, 23 years later, and they're hiring all kinds of vacancies. No blacks. We ought to be dealing with that with Super Bowl time. Because let me tell you, right now, y'all ain't going to get nobody to boycott no football team. Where your leverage is, that's why y'all need to come to Saturday meetings for you that are in New York, or watch it for you that's not. Where your leverage is no stadium can be built. And I guess that's what the caller was talking about in Cincinnati, but he went somewhere else and then wanted to come back in. And I got to be fed other callers. But no stadium can be built without municipal and state investments of capital and waivers to let you build it. So when you vote for a mayor or a county executive or a city council person, they ought to say, in order for you to build here and we give you clearance and we license you, you have got to commit that you are going to have a fair hiring practices from the top of the team to the bottom, and with your vendors and with your employees. So the owner can say all he wants, I'm with Trump, I'm against DEI. Good, then you build your stadium somewhere else, which most of them do not want to do. Because you have the leverage on the city council people, the mayors, and the county executives, because they're elected. So it's not what they dream up, it's what you make them do to get your vote. Oh, I forgot. Some of y'all don't believe voting make a difference. It does. Y'all that are going to watch the football game next week, you're watching it in a public stadium that the municipality and cities passed and in some cases invested in. You're watching it on a television network that the Federal Communications Commission, commissioners appointed by the president, licensed them to bring that football game into your home or wherever you're going to watch it. All that's got something to do with voting. I was telling a guy few years back. He said, I don't vote. I said, at least be ashamed to say that. Because when you understand how voting determines everything in your life, everything, clothes you buy has got to be passed by the apparel department in Washington. Medicine, food, all of that, FDA approved. When you understand that, you make yourself look crazy when you tell people, I don't vote. Why don't you just say, I got a slave mentality, I let everybody else make decisions for me. They'll decide whether the clothes is right. They'll decide whether the food is all right. I don't want to think for myself. Let's go to Cooper in New Jersey. Cooper, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Reverend Al, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Rev, I love that. You know, I'm a political activist in South Jersey, and I just joined NAN. I'm going to start using that when I get people to get out and vote. I just got slave mentality. I let other people make my decisions. I like that.
It's true.
But it's true. But Rev, I'm calling today because I don't know if you heard about this or the callers, but they need to. Republican lawmakers unveiled the Make Elections Great Again Act. It's a new bill that would impose the most extreme federal voting restrictions in our history. And the new bill would go beyond the SAVE Act by imposing strict voter ID to vote, mandating voter roll purges, and banning vote by mail and more. That's crucial.
That's critical and crucial. Now, is this a congressional bill, a Senate bill?
I got to check. I don't know what level, but you know, the Republicans, they unveiled it. So I don't know what level it's on. I will do more research on that, but it is critical. And this is what kind of tie in what you just were talking about when, I don't vote. My vote don't matter. If it don't matter, they wouldn't be pushing this kind of bill.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, well, I'm going to look this bill up. Now, give me the name of the bill again.
The Make Elections Great Again Act.
All right, let me check that out. I'm glad you called, and thank you for your call. Be at the convention because we need to ask about this bill to all of the people in office. This is really trying to undo, as they are in the Supreme Court, trying to undo the Voting Rights Act and put all kind of blocks to block us from voting, which is why it is inexcusable when we block it ourselves. Let's go to Ray in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ray?
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call, Rev. You kind of beat me to the punch when it came to the Rooney Rule, because I was going to mention out of the 10 or 11 head coach vacancies, they were all filled by whites. Even the offensive coordinators and the defensive coordinators, I didn't see. Maybe there was maybe one or two, but I didn't see any. And I think these owners, because Trump is in office, they're almost saying, well, what are you going to do?
Right.
Our guy is in the office. You know, take us to court. Our guy is in the office. You know, we got the courts. We got the Congress. We got the Senate. What are you going to do? So I think the owners, they got bold this year and said, well, we're going to do what we're going to do. Ain't a damn thing you can do about it. You know, I mean, that's just my opinion. But let me say this, Rev, and I think this is important, is that you stood up for the Rooney Rule. You talked about it for years.
Right.
You know, it's you know, the commentators on, you know, in sports, they all bring it up. But what you don't hear is 80% of the athletes in football are black. They don't bring it up.
Right.
That's you know, right. It's almost like they're saying, well, we'll let everybody else take care of it while we make our millions.
Right.
Now, I know they're young, they're black, they're in their 20s, early 30s, and maybe they don't care about, you know, what happened long before their parents were born. People fought and died for the right for them to be making these millions, and maybe they don't care. But imagine if all the black players said, we're not playing in the Super Bowl after what you just did, hiring 10 or 11 white coaches. Imagine how much of an impact and a lot of the money that's lost if that were to happen. But that will never happen. Like I said, and I don't know if it's the fact that they were young and maybe a lot of them came from nothing and they got the big head and they got the cars, they got the mansions. And as long as that money keep rolling in, they're happy as a lark. And they'll say, well, let's just let Reverend Al Sharpton deal with that. Let's let other people deal with that while we play ball.
Well,
that's just my opinion.
I would not disagree with you. And because I can tell you there has been more than one that has retired and come and told me they wish they had gotten involved. They felt that they should have left it to us. And then there have been others that ran into problems, both in the game or in the neighborhood, that they call us. Never call us now about the Rooney Rule. Never call us about discrimination. But they get pulled over by a cop and get harassed. Then they want to call us and support us. And I do, because that's what we do. But I tell them that I didn't know you had my number. I didn't know you knew who we were. So I think you're right. One of the things I learned as a young activist when I started 13 years old is that this is a thankless job. Those that you help ain't going to thank you, and those that do roll with you are people that never directly helped you, that you ever helped. A lot of people that call this show over the last 20 years and have been very complimentary, lifted my spirits, are people that I never helped, never touched. And people that you have, many of them you never hear from. Multi-million-dollar settlements, big contracts, and they like you owed it to them. But that's all right, too. You get your reward elsewhere. I appreciate your call. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more of you and your calls. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you are born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they are changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes Black. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunity, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they did, started at Harvard with a Black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, the ACP would come together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation. Then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And we always on Thursday get into the policies of what is going on. And we have, pardon me, we have our policy. I guess some would say policy wonk. I'd say our policy definer and extraordinary explainer, and that is the CEO of the Protestant Welfare Agencies in New York and the Vice Chairman of the National Board of National Action Network, the one and only attorney, Jennifer Jones Austin. How you doing, Jenny?
You're blessing me, sir. You're putting a smile on my face and making me work hard so I can earn all of the generous words you said about me.
Well, you work hard anyway. You deserve those words. Let's start with what's going on with the DHS, Department of Homeland Security. The Democrats have, I've checked during the break, have successfully so far blocked the spending bill, saying that they want to change the DHS, some even saying they wanted to eliminate it. Explain how they can block it, because they don't have the majority of the Senate, but they need a certain amount for a bill to pass of this magnitude, and the Democrats, if they all stay the line, can block this spending bill indefinitely and may even lead to a partial shutdown.
Right. Well, we've got to remember is the way that the spending shutdown, the shutdown on when we were trying to get a budget passed back in the late 2025, the way that the Republicans actually ultimately got something through was with a couple of Democrats and independents, 6 to be exact, aligning with the Republicans to give them the vote to move forward with the Senate bill that provided for the expiration of the Affordable Care Act enhanced tax credits for people who were well above the poverty line so that they could keep getting health care subsidies. The Democrats and the independents went along with the Republicans, and we lost that fight, if you will. And so what was always understood was that they'd have to come back because it was just a temporary, stay, if you will, on the government not having money to move forward. And so now we're back with the spending a bill here again in January. And what the Democrats have been saying is we do not want any more funding to go to ICE. ICE already has $75 billion. ICE does not need any more money. In order for the spending bill to pass, again, it's got to have 60 votes. So if the Democrats hold the line and you have a few Republicans with them, then the Republicans will not have the votes to pass a spending bill that provides money for ICE in the coming, in this year and over the next several months. So right now, what it looks like is that they're holding firm. The Senate failed right now to pass the funding bill because the Democrats refused to back the funding. The funding sits within the Department of Homeland Security, and it looks like the Democrats, essentially were able to do that because they didn't have nobody breaking with them, didn't allow for the Senate Republicans to have enough votes to pass.
Now, so they can use this leverage to say that you must make these changes, body cameras, this, that, or the other.
Yep.
Some of us are saying they ought to just get rid of ICE altogether and start something totally different. But it is probably easier to keep all the Democrats on board and 2 or 3 Republicans to say you must make certain reforms, which is the leverage we needed and the leverage, frankly, that we wanted them to use in 25. And as well as my thinking is they ought to try and say, and you must do something about the expiration of the Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
Because that has run out, and you can't. I believe you ought to do everything possible on the DHS side. But the people's premiums are doubling and tripling now because they did not do this for the deadline December 31st, 2025.
Sir, if I may tell you why your point is so important, so significant, because what will now happen is the narrative will become that the Democrats essentially stood up for immigrants and for no more funding for ICE and changes with respect to how ICE works to address the immigrant situation. But the narrative, the spin will be, but they completely forgot about all of the American citizens who needed affordable health care premium subsidies.
Right.
That's what the narrative will be, rather than we can hold both. And they should be holding both. What they know right now, what the Democrats should be very much aware of, is they've got public, goodwill, the public's on their side. They think Trump is doing a very bad job with the economy. They think that Trump is doing a very bad job on immigrants. The killings of Alex Preddy and of Renee Nicole Good have the public saying enough is enough. And so they could probably, hold the line and put the health care premium subsidies back on the table.
Yeah,
so
I
what
think
people will say is you made a choice.
I think that with the polling, which they live by, I'm not a real poll fan, but the present White House and Donald Trump and them live by the polling. With the polling this low and Trump so far underwater, even the Fox polls say he is more negative than positive in certain of these areas. Now's the time to really put the pressure on them because they cannot stand this kind of pressure.
One of the criticisms, and you know this as well as I do, one of the criticisms that you sometimes hear about the Democrat Party is that it's like they can't hold several things at one time. And this is what this looks like here. They have leverage because you've got Senate Republicans, you have congressional Republicans are very anxious right now about the midterm elections. And it is not simply going to be how did the Senate and the House Republicans handle the immigration crisis and ICE. It's going to be what have Senate Republicans and House Republicans done about the economy? What have they done about cost of living? What have they done about health care? And if the Democrats were thinking this through right now, I believe they would actually be bringing both to the table and using both as leverage.
Absolutely. And all right, let's take the break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones Austin. Be right back.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary. Farquhar Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first and we'll be last. We know who we are.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misused them and listened to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
Rev, you know, you were right there
From the beginning.
with the stuff that
Yep.
was going on in Brooklyn at that time, at Howard Beach. You were right there.
He had in one of the early movies, he had my name. Then he put me in Malcolm, but I wasn't even old enough to know Malcolm. So we've been through it all.
For those who see Malcolm X, it's 3 hours. But fast forward to the scene with yourself, Bobby Seale.
Right. Bobby Seale, Denzel, and me.
Yeah.
Denzel was on the set.
Now, let me ask a question.
Yep.
What was your weight on that scene?
I probably about 270. I was bigger then.
Yeah.
Still had the hair, man.
Yeah, you had the head on.
Yeah, it was
Denzel, yourself, and Bobby Seale.
Yeah, all in one scene.
And also, there was no cut. We went like this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Only Spike could have done that.
It's my brother right here.
My baby.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Yes, sir.
Brooklyn's in the house.
BK.
In London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
There we go.
Dice. What's up, Doc?
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survived.
Yes, sir.
There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength. We had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
Do I seem excited? I am excited because this Saturday, the National Action Network Saturday Action Rally starts live on WBLS 107.5 FM in New York. We're going to expand. Every Saturday morning, we're live on WBLS 107.5 from 10 a.m. to 11. You'll hear the message. You'll feel the energy. You'll be involved. You won't be sitting around talking about, oh my God, look at what's happening. You'll be involved in dealing with what's happening. I'm excited, and you should be excited to turn on WBLS 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. I have a message for you, and if you want to, you can come to the House of Justice and be there live, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue. We kick off at 9, and we don't stop until we deal with getting our people energized. Hey, what's up? They got, they're doing, thank you. They're doing, what's on your mind? Yeah. All right, then, you got a birthday this week. I got to talk about that.
Oh, no.
Happy birthday this weekend. And Carrie White's birthday, right?
Corey's birthday's today.
Yeah, and I got, tell, Reverend Bird, ready Daniel 5th chapter. I want him to read. And, I'm ready. Got a message from today, so we'll be on the air in what, half hour?
About a half hour.
You should tune in to the WBLS 107.5 FM and National Impact and www.nationalnetwork.net. All right, I'm ready.
Oh.
Make sure you operate on time or I'll tell them how old you are.
King, Dr. Richardson, most of all, let me thank Reverend Al Sharpton for bringing us all here together today in the Urban Action Network. I am proud to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America, but I am mindful that I wouldn't be here if it had not been for Reverend Al Sharpton running for president, and Carol Moseley Brown running for president, and Jesse Jackson running for president, and Shirley Chisholm running for president. They paved the way, and I stand on their shoulders.
when Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I celebrate the day you were born. You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
For over 3 decades, the National Action Network has stood on the front lines for our communities, fighting for justice, lifting up the voiceless, and showing up where it matters most. Presidents, world leaders, and global changemakers have all testified to Reverend Al Sharpton's impact and National Action Network legacy of good trouble in the fight for equality. This holiday season, our commitment grows even stronger. We're expanding food distributions, toy drives, and direct support for families who need us now more than ever. Stop right now and join the movement.
Around this is so wicked. Now they're going to, they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they gonna investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're gonna investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend, I get calls on my radio show every day. Well, I don't see what
Keeping it
changed.
real.
Well,
I'm your
let
host,
me tell you where if they
Reverend Al
lose the
Sharpton,
Congress
and we're back.
this year.
1-877-532-5797. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. I'm sorry I had to take that call. I'm working on several things. Politics Nation with Al Sharpton is going to be hot this weekend. Make sure you watch it. I'm booking some of the leadership in the Senate and the House. We do not know where we will be by that time, or Saturday or Sunday, but we do know they have agreed to come on and explain where we are, and they know that if we are nowhere, I'm coming straight at them. If we are, they're going to have to explain it. So make sure you're on watching Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now, formerly known as MSNBC. And, of course, I'm talking about dealing with the Affordable Care Act, dealing with the spending budget, dealing with ICE in Indianapolis as well as Texas as well as Maine, and all of the above. Also, you that in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice. This is our last Saturday at the location, 145th and Lenox, and it is going to be a great rally. So be there at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're going to have our goodbye rally at that site. Made a lot of history at that site. And then, of course, starting next Saturday, which is the first Saturday in Black History Month, we will start having the Saturday rallies temporarily for about 4 to 5 weeks at the historic Mother AME Zion Church, 136th Street between Lenox and 7th, Church of Frederick Douglass. Paul Robeson was a member of that church. Madam C.J. Walker's funeral was at church. So we're going where we belong, Black history, right in that building. And we'll be there until we move into the new House of Justice that's going to blow your mind. Also, don't forget National Action Network Convention. It will be April the 8th through the 11th at the Sheraton, New York. It's free. If you can't go every day, if you can't come in for every day,
register and say what you can come in. All our workshops, everything, plenary sessions. We're going to have many of the names that are in politics and entertainment and across the board. Even some athletes have called. But I'm not dropping names for a few more days. I don't want people to come because they were fans. I want people to come because they want to be involved. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net or call the toll-free number at 1-877-626-4651. Jenny, the fact that there's health care, affordable health care, I'm very concerned about DHS, but I'm also equally concerned about health care. The predictions was up to 25 million people could be impacted by this.
Again, because, we know that healthcare in many states across the country is sometimes it's the number one cost for families. It competes in other states with housing and in some states childcare as well. But it's typically one of the top three costs for individuals and families when it comes to taking care of themselves. And one of the reasons that President Obama moved and worked so hard to create the Affordable Care Act was to make sure that everyone in America is able to access and afford health care. Because if you don't have your health, you have nothing. And we know that the Republicans, since he was able to do that, was the first president ever to bring about affordable health care for everybody. They've been at work trying to dismantle it. And we also know that many people who did not want Obama as president, didn't like him as president, they do like Obamacare because they don't understand that they do like the Affordable Care because they don't know that the Affordable Care is actually Obamacare. They supposed like Obamacare. But one of the things that Biden did during his presidency when we were coming out of COVID was to increase the eligibility for subsidies for affordable care, because even with the Affordable Care Act, there are people who still need support in paying for health care insurance. Biden moved to increase the eligibility for people to 400% of poverty, but it's set to expire back in 2025. The Republicans did not want to extend it. The Democrats did. And now there are more people who are going without health care insurance again, and premiums have risen to pretty much everybody.
Let's take the break. Going right back to the phones right after the break. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together and sends it out across the world, because we need much more of it. Bless you.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God. In that, it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just break. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor, and more importantly, this is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day, celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting, because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me, and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
and
a race baiter.
Yeah, right. I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. you can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen.
Keeping it
brought him up and
Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Let's go right back to the phones, Attorney Austin. Let's go to Deshaun in Washington, D.C. Deshaun, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Austin.
He hung up, sir. He hung up.
Oh, he's not there? I wanted to talk to Deshaun. In the 20 years, tomorrow's our 20th anniversary, Jennifer. He's been one of these distinguished callers. I wanted to hear his voice. We don't always agree, but he always calls. Very frank and blunt. I'm sorry he didn't hang on. Let me go to Deborah in Atlanta, Georgia. Deborah.
Statement. Then I wanted to ask both of you a question.
Hello?
That nature. I make a statement in reference.
They're breaking up and all, and this is
all of that.
wait a minute, you start at the beginning because we didn't hear you.
A lot of them are in that private
Deborah?
bracket and they benefit from that big, beautiful
Hello?
bill. If you want to hear more from them.
No, I could not hear you. For whatever reason, you broke off, and they're playing music under me. So start again and y'all cut the music off, please.
Okay.
We're not singing. This is talk show. I don't understand why they keep doing it. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, one of the things I wanted to say, then I want to ask a question. You were mentioning about football and things, and what I wanted to say to the audience, the reason you're not hearing from the football, the basketball, the hockey, the racers, the baseball, the movie stars, is because a lot of them are in that tax bracket where they're benefiting from that big, beautiful bill. If you want to hear more from them, do what you do differently. Stop buying these tickets. If you got 4 or 5 TVs in your home, turn off 3 of them or something. Do your part, and you will definitely hear them coming out more in reference to what we're seeing happening, because enough of them just have their mouths closed because they're still getting fed. At the meantime, a lot of us are suffering. And that brings me to the point when we're looking at the Senate, Reverend Sharpton. So my question, I have 2 questions. When you think of football, if you're able to score a touchdown, why would you pass the ball? From what I'm seeing, they have done absolutely nothing, Republicans, across the board, not for Democrats, but for America as a whole. There are so many things that need to be negotiated at this time, not just DHS, in reference to Renee Good and Alex, but there are so many other things that need to be negotiated. And that's just how I feel about it. I would throw the football so hard it would smash all the windows in the stadium. And because that's the way they're treating us. And then they say that Donald still has, I don't call him President Trump, so I don't respect him, y'all. I call him Donald, like Donald Duck. They say that he still has money in the domestic policy package that could pay them. Trust me, it's going to be bankrupt like everything else he's put his hands on. So it's not a lot of money there. And with that being said, the second question is, if they start impeachment, because that's what most of America wants to see right now, I wanted to know how soon would the process be where they could start charges, not just on Trump, but on Bondi, but on Noam, but on a lot of these individuals. And I personally don't think it's enough to take off the mask, because there are so many people that are infiltrated with ICE. They need to do a background check. It needs to be a whole turnover, because when you take off the mask and you're going to really see, oh, that's who that is, then where do we go from there? I just think it's just so much further than that. They have the ball. I say score a touchdown, and I just wanted y'all's opinion on that, because I for one.
All right, let me give you mine. Let me give you my opinion,
Okay.
and then Attorney Jones Austin give you hers. They do not have the ball until they have the majority of the Senate and the House. They have the ball now with 4 or 5 Republicans that if they can flip them, they'll have the majority. Now, they can block because they need 60 votes to put this stuff through, but they can't initiate. So what you're saying is correct. They can block the money, and they can, because they need the 60 votes, but they cannot come in and say we want to impeach or we want to do this, that, or the other, because they do not have the majority. So they will get the ball if they win the majority in November, and that's up to us that vote. But they can block. We put enough in. We vote enough to get them where they need 6 or 7 Democrats to get budgets through, but they cannot. Those less than majority Democratic senators cannot stop start impeachment proceedings, because we don't chair the Judiciary Committee, because the chair's a Republican, because they're the majority of the Senate and of the House. Jennifer?
Exactly. I'm not very, very knowledgeable about football, but I do know a little something about offensive play and defensive play. And what Reverend Sharpton, as I think about it, what you're speaking to is defensive play is blocking, the spending bill from advancing and essentially funding the government until they agree to make changes in ICE procedures, as well as agree, I would say, to put Affordable Care Act premium subsidies back on the table. The offensive is go out there, all of us go out there and vote to flip the House and put Democrats back in charge, and we won't see a lot of these shenanigans that are playing out right now. And if we have enough cause, then we can move for impeachment. Now, I think that what you see all across the the country is that you do have grounds for impeachment. You have a president who does everything from obstruct justice to misuse and abuse of his powers. He has essentially weaponized the federal government against his adversaries and opponents, and is using government funds for his own benefit as well as profiting.
And
so there are the grounds there. Yeah, I'm sorry, sir.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that it can be done, but once again, that you need to flip the House. And the other thing is, there are Senate seats that are up. You also need to flip the Senate if you actually want removal. Remember, impeachment is just the equivalent of an indictment. It's not a conviction, and it does not result in Donald Trump being removed from government. He would be the first president to now have been impeached 3 times. He was the first to be impeached twice, but it doesn't mean that he would be removed.
But he can be if we had the majority. And see what I think people need to understand, and I like Deborah, she always asks good questions. And that I believe a lot of people want to know but just don't get through the call or whatever the reason may be. In fact, Happiness Donuts is saying on my message board, caller Deborah is growing on me. Well, she been growing on me. But anyway, I was distracted. But anyway, the fact is, in the room, Deborah, where we argue these things, march and meet with the people in power, the Republicans say, we deliver our vote, our voters come out. And we say, yeah, but the people want this, the people want that. Well, why ain't the people voting then? We get our people out to vote. If you telling me the people are so adamant, then why didn't they show up and vote like that? And that is the answer, is that we can say all we want. Well, this is what people want. Well, they don't want it enough to vote for it, and that's the only way they're going to get an impeachment or anything else. And I think that we've got to, yes, put the heat on them, and then put the heat back on those of us in our community that are not delivering the numbers, because whether we like it or not, they deliver their numbers. Did you realize, Deborah, they delivered enough numbers to put a man with 34 felony convictions and a sexual harassment loss in the White House? So how do you think they look at us if we talking about their health care? We talking about our health care. We talking about our rights of migrants. We talking about criminal justice, and we can't get everybody out. But they can get enough out to put a thug back in the White House. And they look at us like, well, obviously people don't feel the way you feel, or y'all can't get them out. And I know the answer a lot of us, well, we don't see enough results because you're not seeing enough votes. It's like saying the coffee ain't sweet enough, the tea ain't sweet enough, because you didn't put no sugar in it. What do you think? You're going to stick your finger in there and it's going to sweeten it? The only thing sweetening this stuff up is votes. Let's go to Pam in Chicago, my activist extraordinaire in Chicago. Pam?
Hello?
Yes,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I hear you now, yes.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton, and hello to Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin. Appreciate you. And
I don't know about this one.
Wait a minute. There's a lot of static. Can y'all clear that up, or she needs to call back in?
She needs to call back in.
Call right back in, Pam, because there's a lot of static. We can barely understand. And while we waiting on her to call back in, let me go to Woody in Philadelphia. Woody?
Hey, Rev.
Hey.
I really want you to know 20 years went by so fast, but I just want to show you how when you working, my father and mother had 10 children, and we still got that house that we all came out of, and they bought their properties on their side of the street from one corner to the other on their side. Those two people, I come in every morning and clap. I'm clapping for you right now, brother, because you've been pushing, and you ain't even getting tired because you're too busy. As my father would say, whack. He didn't call it work, he called it whack.
Right.
So I loved watching you whack, because when you do your job, you ain't got too much time to do much else.
That's right.
It's just as simple as that. Now I'm going to say, Miss Austin and your daughter, Dominique, you got two beautiful women. I'm talking about from the inside out, because I look at them as the universe, the female. Internal and external, you have a universe. And that when I look at my mom, I come in and my mother and father, I clap for both of them every morning. Got a big picture of them in the barbershop. And just clap before the customers come in. I get here an hour early just so I can drink my green tea and appreciate the fact they had 10 children. 10 children in 912 South 19th Street. So I don't want to keep pushing. I'm just thinking about and watching you do what you do, and I love it. I just want you to know. You say you don't get no appreciation. I'm telling you, there's nothing like what you doing on the radio, man.
Amen.
All right, well, thank you for your call. Thank you for your call. Let's get ready to take our break, and we'll be right back. Keeping it real. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, Jones Austin. Be right back. Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge, and we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI, we supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI, and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the black church, how we deal with black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all No Kings marches and all. But the black organization march, it welcomed everybody. We had white, black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award, and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning, because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C. We do two cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York to pay for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attended convention last year. In 2025, it needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it, but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked into silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks in 26. I need you, we need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year. And be focused. Hey, what's up? They got, they're doing, thank you. They're doing, what's on your mind? Yeah. All right, then, oh, you got a birthday this week. I got to talk about that.
Oh, no.
Happy birthday this weekend. And Carrie White's birthday, right?
Corey's birthday is today.
Yeah, and I got to tell Reverend Birthday reading Daniel 5th chapter. I want him to read. And I'm ready. I got a message from today, so we'll be on the air in half hour.
About a half hour.
You should tune in to the WBLS 107.5 FM and National Impact and www.nationalnetwork.net. All right, I'm ready. Make sure you operate on time or I'll tell them how old you are.
You live.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host, Jennifer Jones Austin Esquire. Let's go back to Pam. Pam, I think we got a line straight out of Chicago. Pam. I don't hear Pam.
I'm here. I'm right here.
All right.
And I didn't hear Reverend Sharpton pull me up. I'm here.
All right, I hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. And Jennifer Jones Austin, Attorney Austin, still there?
Yeah.
I'm here. Thank you. I'm here.
Yes, thank you. No, thank you for your wisdom. And Reverend Sharpton, as always, thank you for all that you do.
You're kind.
I wanted to say, Reverend Sharpton, let us not still forget the Epstein file. We still have victims. We still have sexual predators out there, child rapists, who are billionaires and millionaires. And many of them are more than likely helping to support and financially fund the adjudicated sexual abuser who Judge Kaplan said committed rape in the White House. I just want that to be clear. And I know with all that is going on, we have to deal with that. But I'm not going to let up on that. And the FBI, they have the names of the perpetrators. They have the names of the people who committed these crimes because Virginia Giuffre, as well as the other victims, gave them names. She named names. So that's there in the record, and it's time for it to be released. So, Attorney Jones Austin, I wanted to ask you regarding the Supreme Court. Reverend Sharpton, I know we have to vote. I know we need to get, someone with some decency in the White House. But right now, with the Supreme Court, Attorney Austin, the only way I see to deal with this is if there is an expansion of the number of justices on the court. And I'm just wondering your thoughts about that, because we need some remedies, some quick remedies that can hit right away. And Reverend Sharpton, also your input on that. I think that is something that is doable. I think that the Democratic elected leaders should talk about that. They should talk about repealing the big nasty bill. I don't call it the ugly, it's the big nasty bill that is hurting people. So I think they need to talk about repealing that. They need to talk about exactly what it is they're going to do in conjunction with affordability. But once again, Attorney Austin, I want to make sure that we're able to do something about the Supreme Court. And the only thing I know is for expansion. What do you think about that? Is it realistic? And will that help as an immediate remedy, or as immediate as it can be? Because to wait for them to get sick or die off, that's going to lead to more destruction.
Yeah, you're right. Attorney Jones Austin.
I'll hang up and listen, Reverend Sharpton.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
You know, the concern, I appreciate the desire and the interest and the rationale. The challenge that would exist is that you could get into a situation that whatever party is in power, they would keep expanding the Supreme Court. And we'd get into something called court packing, where it's like the party in power would move while they were in power to increase the number of people on the bench so that they could achieve, decisions that are more favorable to them. And the problem becomes, how do you put a limit? Because once you expand it, then it seems like you've now created the precedent to keep on expanding it. So that's a real concern. It's the equivalent, sir, if I may, and it's something we don't like to think about. But, when the Republicans were blocking many of President Obama's appointments during his tenure, he and the Democrat senator who was the majority leader in the Senate, what they did was they got rid of the 60 votes required for appointments, and it became the nuclear option of 51 appointments. What Obama did was he did not take that all the way up to the Supreme Court, meaning he didn't change that rule. They didn't change the rule for the Supreme Court. But then what happened was the Republicans came in and they wanted to pack the Supreme Court. So then they changed that nuclear option to let it apply to the Supreme Court as well. So there is essentially what I'm saying is there is an example of how you get into the politics for these various roles where we were once requiring 60 votes and it moved to 51, and you just have this back and forth, and it just keeps going back and forth. That's the only concern.
No, I think that's a concern. I think you were talking about Harry Reid was the Democratic leader.
Harry Reid, that's right. That's
Nevada.
Right, Harry Reid.
Yeah, from Nevada. But I think the concern is there. But I also, I would not be adverse to expanding the court with guardrails because so they couldn't keep doing it repetitive and it could not be party driven. But I think you need to expand it with guardrails. But again, all of that, none of that can happen without us voting because we are not in the majority to talk about. We can't even confirm judges in the Senate now because we're not in the majority. Let's not talk about changing the makeup of the court. And if it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, it's because I'm really trying to incite us to talk to our family members and neighbors that are not voting. The problem is imposed on us, but the problem is we're accepting it by our low voter turnout. Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris could have been the president of the United States. She lost by 1.5%. We can blame it on her advisors and everybody else. Nobody got to advise me to vote against somebody that's going to try to do what I knew he was going to do. And if I didn't know, he told me what he was going to do. And he told you what he's going to do. So at some point, yes, we need to put the pressure on the Democrats. All we can. But we also need to look in the mirror and put some pressure on ourselves and those around us. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones Austin. Be right back. Around this is so wicked. Now they're going to they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating Good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they're going to investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're going to investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend, I get calls on my radio show every day. Well, I don't see where voting changed them. Well, all right. Let me tell you where, if they lose the Congress this year, where it changes. The Speaker would be Hakeem Jeffries, who grew up right here in Name, as he said on Monday. The Speaker decides then the calendar for the legislative session. The chairs of the committees become Democrats. So the Judiciary Committee, now watch this in the barbershop. The chair of the Judiciary Committee, y'all saw the Judiciary Committee have the hearing and brought in the special counsel yesterday. Well, the chair this time, if the Democrats win, would be a Democrat who could then subpoena the Attorney General Bondi, all of the folks that were involved in January 6th. They can subpoena the vice for all of them because you've got the power of the gavel. Wonder why nobody has asked Pence how he felt running for his life January 6th. Well, if you get the Judiciary Committee, you can subpoena Pence.
This is a defining moment. As our world faces urgent challenges, the movement comes together. National Action Network's 35th anniversary and convention, April 8th through the 11th. Leaders, activists, and community voices united for justice and change. The moment is now. Be in
I wanted to come today on Martin Luther King Day. Because Martin Luther King died in Memphis fighting for wages for garbage workers. And I believe he would want those of us that come in his tradition to be standing with nurses and standing with those that should be getting wages for saving the lives and caring for people that the private hospitals and other hospitals seem not to care about. How can you spend King Day and turn your back on people that are working and not insured right and not given the right wages and not given the right respect when they're taking care of our afflicted, our ill, our infirm? In the name of Martin Luther King, I join the nurses in demanding justice for the nurses. This is not only a labor issue, this is a civil rights issue. This is a human rights issue. It's an issue that black and white, Latino, Asian, all can stand together. Because those that want to make profits out of people's illness, rather than pay for those that care for them, that stand for them, that are there when their families are not there in some cases. So we had to come on King Day. Many of the dignitaries came to the House of Justice, but I left to come and stand here with them to let them know that Martin Luther King Day is a day to stand up for those that stand in the cold, but they never left the patients in the cold. No justice. No peace. 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 All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sharpton. Thank you. Thank you.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people, and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, we were singing "We Shall Overcome." Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing "The Hole in the Back of the Bus." So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, all of this about our friend Barack announced it today. I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Let me remind you again, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, and you need to watch it this weekend with all of this critical legislative stuff that affects your life. Let me be clear. You don't have to be a political buff or some policy wonk to be into legislation. You have to be breathing in this country, because the air you breathe, the places you go, whether you have health care benefits at the right price or not, all of that is what is going to happen this weekend with these bills. So people should not be uninterested in the situations they're going to have to live under. So make sure you watch both nights, because I'm stacking them up so that people can really hear what is going on and not going on. And let me ask the direct questions. One thing I don't do is tell folk what I'm going to ask them. They know when they come on my show, Sharpton liable to go anywhere. That's exactly right. And I want you to watch it this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now, formerly MSNBC. Then it's a banner day at the Saturday Action Rally. It's our last Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, where it is located now, 145th and Lenox. We will be moving out after the Saturday rally and start our next Saturday Action Rallies at a historic site. It's Black History Month. We're going there for the month every Saturday. And by then, our new building, which I've not announced where, but it will be ready by then. But those 4 Black History Month weeks, we're at Mother AME Zion at 136th Street and between Lenox Avenue and 7th Avenue in Harlem. And this church is no better place to not only be in transition, but for Black History Month. Frederick Douglass, you'll see the rostrum that he spoke at. They kept it in the church. Have a little museum in the church. Harriet Tubman had the Underground Railroad, went right through under that church. Madam C.J. Walker's funeral was in that church. Paul Robeson was a member of that church. So we'll be there every Saturday in February, 9 to 11. And for you that are not in the New York area, you can watch us live on Impact Television, YouTube/NAN, or National Action Network.net live stream. Also, National Action Network Convention, I just got 2 big confirmations. I'm not announcing names for another 5 or 6 days, but believe me, you're going to want to sign up and be there. It's all free, but you've got to register to attend. And if we overflow a workshop, only those with the names on the line will be permitted in. But you're going to want to have been here. And if you can't do all 4 days, you do 1 day, 3 days, 2 days, a half a day, register and let us know that. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can go to the toll-free number, 1-877-626-4651. All right, it's Policy Day. Let's go to Todd in Cleveland, Ohio. Todd, you're on with Sharpton and Jones Austin.
Hey, Reverend Al Sharpton, Jennifer Jones Austin. I'd like to make a request, considering the limited amount of time. Executive Order 14376. Executive Order 14376 is an attempt to stop Wall Street from blocking Main Street. That's what it says on the name. but basically stopping corporations from being able to block from being able to purchase because they have so much money to purchase in front of them. Main Street individual buyers, working class buyers. Are you open to take a look at that and then discuss it next week?
Wait a minute, I don't understand. You said that the legislation is to block what?
It's an executive order.
Executive order by the president.
Yeah,
All right.
signed on the 20th of this month, and the intention is to keep corporations from being able to buy so many properties that working class folks can't compete with them. And I want to know if you'd be open to taking a look at it and discussing it next week.
I'm open to it. What do you say, Jenny?
Jennifer?
Absolutely. I know a little bit about it already, but yes.
Okay, 14376, and I want to talk about that with the $1,000 that's going to be allocated, which is going to come up to about 13 million babies and toddlers, for if that's really going to happen for kids born between 2025 through 2028 next week. But in pursuit of the topic today, if they block this this money coming into Homeland Security, is it also going to block them being able to hire more immigration judges? We have a cap of 800 judges that can be had in this federal government, and we're not even at the cap of 800. And we have 3,400 employees in the federal public defender's office. 2,000 of them are public defenders, and we're going to need more for all these people that they're trying to handle as far as legal immigrants and illegal immigrants.
I'm not sure the judges, Jenny, paid out of the DHS allocation.
I do not believe so. I'm going to review that, but I don't believe so. I believe that the ICE money is for direct operational expenses tied to immigration enforcement by law enforcement and for detention purposes. I don't believe it's for the law judges themselves, because I have two friends who are immigration judges, and they are under the Department of Justice. I mean, that's where I began. But I really believe that the ICE is for the law enforcement and the detention facilities.
Here's the thing. The country has a cap of 800. They can only have 800 presently immigration judges, and we're going to need easily another 800, so that's 1,600 in total, just to handle the numbers that they're claiming they want to deal with as far as legal and illegal immigrants. And then most of these folks don't have money for attorneys, so they're going to be using public defenders. Most of the public defenders in the federal government are not abreast on immigration law, but of the ones that are there's only 2,000. So we're talking about money that isn't money to be allocated for pursuits that they're not even appearing to consider while they're funding these agents. You know, if you're going to be doing this, you need more judges, and you need more public defenders, and you need more public defenders that are abreast in immigration law. And I'm looking, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. And not just public defenders, investigators, and paralegals. You know, so where do you have an uncommitted guess on what's a good number for you, considering the number that they're trying to deal with, even though we all know they really don't want them to get in front of a lot of judges. They just want them out.
Yeah, I think.
Don't know what the
go ahead, Jenny.
I was just going to say, I don't know what the good number would be, in part because the numbers that they're trying to get, it's widely reported they're not going to get those numbers to begin with because, they're trying to compete with Joe Biden numbers, and a lot of those numbers that he got with respect to deportation were people who were deported right at the border, not people who came through and were here and went through significant time-intensive court proceedings. So, number one, I'm not really sure that they need the 800. If you're aligning that with the projected numbers that they want to try to deport through court proceedings, I'm not sure what that is. What I will tell you, if I may, sir, is that, again, I do have two friends who are immigration judges, and what they often raise is not so much that they have high caseloads, but that a lot of the courts themselves, like you don't have a lot of supervising judges, and you have extreme oversight where judges are now being challenged in their proceedings if they're trying to enforce the laws as they are, because the laws as they are on the books right now are not the laws that the Republicans like.
What about public defenders that are well versed in immigration law? Do you have a figure in your mind, an uncommitted guess as to what would be reasonable just based on what we're dealing with now? Because almost none of these people have money for private attorneys.
No, I don't. What I would probably base it on is what legal aids, like how their numbers go up. And legal aid is all around the country because they often step in to assist with immigration matters. But I don't have I couldn't begin to tell you what the exact number is because, frankly, the challenge is that not everybody who would be receiving legal assistance right now is receiving legal assistance. So for me, it's hard to put a guesstimate on it.
And that is part of the problem. A lot of folks deserve it, but they're not getting legal assistance. But if we were making an earnest effort to make sure that they got due justice, there would be more than 800. There wouldn't be a cap on 800 immigration judges, and his department, Federal Public Defender's Department, would also be better funded because they will be able to anticipate what's coming down the pike for them to have to do. Not seeing any funding for that. I'm personally not seeing it. I haven't done it.
I think if it was me, I'd be more interested in can Congress finally, legislate on the immigration reform. I mean, part of the challenges that we're having right now is we keep addressing immigration issues through massive deportation and not looking at, what is the crux of the problem, what is the best solution for America, and then moving accordingly. If we recall, during the Biden administration, we had a bipartisan deal to address immigration reform, and then, Trump blew that up. From the sidelines, he blew that up. And so we keep looking at all of the, we're looking at the Band-Aid solution responses and all the harms resulting there rather than Congress centering on the crux of the matter to begin with and passing legislation.
And they
Real
have
reform.
And the legislation has to be proposed in order to pass. And if the legislation is not being proposed, then the dilemma just becomes larger and more costly. You hear me say this a lot. I'm a firm believer that all tax dollars are supposed to convert into services for the public. And if you're causing problems with the services that you're providing as government that the tax dollars are paying for, unhealthy problems, then you're running up the cost of government. Perfect example as I exit, if you go to the FBI's website, the U.S. code for domestic terrorists is 18 USC, that's for U.S. code 2331, parentheses the number 5. Neither Renee Good nor Alex Pretty, definitely not Destiny Jackson and her husband and her children who are still alive, fit being called domestic terrorists.
No,
now you run up the cost of government because all those people got to get paid.
Even by their definition, you're correct on that. All right, I'm going to look up this other that you sent us, and we'll talk about it next Thursday on Policy Day. Let me thank Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. Let me remind you, tomorrow is our 20th anniversary, and we're going to remember some of the memorable shows. We're going to discuss the issues of the day, but we've had everybody on this show from Barack Obama to James Brown, and we're going to talk about 20 years anniversary tomorrow of Keeping It Real, Sharpton. We'll talk to you tomorrow.